There's Rex interface to issue operator commands that's native to TSO Rex, and there's a SDSF interface to issue commands that's also native. And there's not really a NetView tool to issue operator commands from TSO that I'm aware of. Now, they might have things in their toolbox or something that I don't know about, but so you could build a thing because there's those two Rex interfaces. You could build like an OC Rex exec that emulated what Ops did, or if it's really batch, you could use one of those interfaces directly. Okay, well, at any rate, what I'm saying is as things go wrong here, SA will probably get blamed for them, sometimes falsely, sometimes truly. This is a site, they had this on their wall, and it's from an IBM manual, and it basically said, this is so complicated, you should not try to automate it, because you'll just mess it up. It was about automating DAS demirroring. So they gave the automation team this plaque after they did successfully manage to automate DAS demirroring. But there are times, and I suspect when you look through those 12,000 rules and 10,000 Rex execs, maybe somewhere around a third of those need to be tossed off the side of the boat instead of converted over, right? What you'll find is that you have automation for things that you're no longer running, but you still have the rules active that's catching these messages that haven't occurred since you took that product out. Or you have automation for things that, when you really look at it in detail, you find that the rules aren't really, they're blowing up every day, or those messages just never occur or something. So it is a good cleansing thing to go through your automation like that with a fine-tooth comb, because you will get things cleaned up. So you need to have some standards, how you automate things, how you test, how you handle change control, where you document. And as you do all those things well, then you'll get reliability in your automation. Your automation will have high impact for good instead of high impact for ill. And you need to have some security controls over your automation so that people can't work around your change control process. Basically, so you can know that you're really running the automation that you deployed as opposed to some other automation that snuck in there around your process. Automate close to the source as you can get. And, what this means is, like, you can do some automation in Proc Ops, but for COS automation, you really need to do that in the NetView automation table as opposed to doing it in Proc Ops. So you only do in Proc Ops what you can't do on the source NetView. There was a time, there's a add-on component to Network NetView called ANO, Automated Network Operation, I guess. And that grew out of the system automation tool. So there was a time that you couldn't have system automation and a NetView running ANO in one address space, one copy of NetView, because they had routines that had the same names, but they had different functions, because they had grown apart over time. And so that's why 10 years ago when you put NetView in, that would have been the case, that you wouldn't have been able to keep a separate, one unified system automation NetView and automated network. But now that's since been fixed. So basically they just renamed all those routines so that the ANO routines are named something different and don't conflict. And probably your overhead is going to be better to run one unified NetView than to run one for automation and one for network management. So that might be something you consider doing down the road is unifying those two together into one. Okay, so this product has a long lifespan. It's been renamed several times, etc. There was AOC, which was system operations part of system automation, and it's really the core thing we're going to talk about in this class. There's a tool that was once called SCON Manager and is now called IOOps, and we'll look a little bit at that, but we're not really going to focus on that too much. It's really separately installable, so you can lay down that without system automation or vice versa. And then finally there's the TSCF piece, which now we call Proc Ops, and so it's for remote control. So those all come in one licensed product, and all of these are add-ons to NetView. So they add extra NetView command processors, extra Rex programs, extra panels, and there's a thing called the NMC that it's a graphical interface for NetView, and they have applications that run on the NMC as well. Now there's a new thing that just came out. I haven't really looked at it too much lately, but it's called IBM Automation Control. And with it, you install one product, and it's NetView and System Automation all in one FMID. So it's really designed to go after the small shops. I think the small shops that are converting from Ops MVS, this is kind of the equivalent for them. The idea of this product is it's policy-based, it has goals, and it has canned automation in it for many IBM products, some non-IBM products. The GDPS, the Geographically Dispersed Parallel Sysplex, uses system automation to perform its work. That ended up putting system automation in a lot of shops, perhaps your shops. The key thing about it is that you configure the automation using panels, and typically you don't have to code things to get the basic function. So less code writing, more just configuration work. And it's pretty well thought through here. You know, IBM gets experts in DB2 to help them design the sample can DB2 policy so that they know how it operates and have been through several versions of it to where it can lay in and work pretty well. So you can have a Sysplex-wide group. So you can define something if you have resources that move across a Sysplex. You can define those and move them with system automation. It has this new manager agent design, not new anymore, but at one point there was a big watershed release that changed the way system automation worked. And so now a copy of NetView is really like the agent in this architecture. And there's a manager that can run on any system, and it takes care of coordinating things like moving a resource. So we can have pretty elaborate dependencies. We can move things around. We can support things like the automatic restart manager, so it is coordinated with that. It has interfaces to the rest of the Tivoli products. There's this thing called NetCool. It's a graphical alert monitoring system, and you could write events out to that from NetView. Okay, so here we have a little chart of some applications. So there's JES2, there's VTAM, and there's 3 CICS regions on here, 2 application owning regions, 1 terminal owning region. And there's a group defined for the CICS AORs, and then each of those lists JES2 as their parent. VTAM lists JES2 as their parent. CICS has VTAM as a parent. The TOR does, as well as this other group. You set up these relationships as you define your resources. Most things have a has-parent relationship, and that's the basic. There are relationships here where, like, when one thing comes down, it will actually force another thing to come down. So you can control what happens when something becomes available or when something becomes not available. This is the release chart for this, and as you see, it goes way back to the previous century. But in the 3.4 release, we see what they've been up to here. Part of it is just to make it easier to set up. So it has a tool to discover your resources and get them defined into the policy. With SA 3.4, you can have what they call a staged output. And I think this came from a site that I worked with. They had they used this concept called run levels, which is a Unix concept. A Unix system in run level 1 is single user, no network access. You know, as you change to run level 2 and 3 and 4, I think run level 6 is fully up, multi-users allowed to log on, network access and everything. In Unix, there's just a bunch of scripts that run if you change the run level to either start things or stop things that should or shouldn't run in that particular run level. And so they took that concept and added a run level column to their stateman table. So you could shift that thing. It's like stateman with a gear shift. You know, you could just put it in third gear, and you know, a whole bunch of regions would come up, and the schedulers would open, and the initiators would start, and things like that. So they've got that concept now in the policy, so that not everything has to, you know, start all the time. Another thing that's here is they've added a job log interface, so you can get data off of job log and automate on it. You can also read data off the spool. It gives you a little bit more power in your automation because you can see events that you would not have seen in previous releases. They added this component that allowed you to do a rolling recycle. So you can recycle, say you have 200 CICS regions in a group. You can bring them all down and then bring them all back up again. It takes them down 5 at a time or something like that so that it doesn't overwhelm the system with workload. But once it's all done, they're all down and back up. There's components in here to generate various NetView tables in system automation. So there's a NetView facility we'll look at called the message revision table, and it lets you do some of the things that OpsMBS does in rules. But you can store that message revision tables in your SA policy, and then when SA initializes, it will push that member into NetView so that you can basically do more and more work right from the policy and don't have to go around it and put things into NetView itself. So there's a little better logging. Used to be if you used a panel and issued a command, none of that got logged. But if you issued the command line version of it, it did. So that's now better. Previous release was really focusing more on integrating the OmegaMon. IBM bought that OmegaMon from Candle. So that Tivoli Enterprise Portal was actually a Candle thing that got integrated into Tivoli products. So it uses SOAP messages, and SOAP is basically XML being passed over a web interface. So it's newer technology, but supported so we can communicate between OmegaMon and system automation so you could do automated performance management. Another thing in there is that there's capabilities now to import and export policies, which allow you to do things like export your policy out to a flat file, edit it with a editor, make some set of changes, and then re-import the policy back into system automation rather than to go to all the panels that you need to go to make that kind of update. Useful for conversions and data center merges and things like that. So that's a couple releases going back. I don't think we need to go the rest of the way down through this history here, but you basically can see that they're chipping away at better integration, easier install, and additional functionality. So they have not lost their development steam here. The development team for system automation is in Germany now, and I think that started around the 2.1 release that the development moved, was in Austin, Texas, and some in Raleigh, North Carolina, and then all got moved over to a lab in Germany where there's some pretty good developers. So